The other day, me and you were talking, and you had mentioned this concept of utilization rates and health scores. Can you talk about kind of what this process looks like and explain why it's such a valuable concept for customer success folks to understand?
Yes, I wish everybody would use this method of health scoring for their customers. I think we can get really complex and complicated when we are measuring what success looks like. This is a method that I learned when I was working at Mural. And as a CSM, have never seen more clarity into my book of business, where everything stands on a day-to-day basis, and exactly how each activity I'm doing is moving the needle in terms of adoption and success. So essentially, what you do is you identify your two North Star metrics. Typically, in customer success, these are going to be something like license allocation. So, how many licenses has a customer allocated out of the number that they are contracted for? They purchase 100, they've allocated 73, they have 73% of their licenses allocated. And then the next thing that we look at is activation of those licenses. So you're using 73 of them. How many of those licenses are logging into the tool, taking an action um, month over month, day over day? And that's, of course, your activation number. So those numbers to start with, of course, are a good thing to look at. But when they really tell you a story and help you to come up with a success plan and understand where you need to step in as the CSM, is when you compare those against a point in time. And we call this utilization rate. It's kind of hard to explain without showing you a spreadsheet, but it's actually a very, very simple calculation. If you have 73% of your licenses allocated and you're only 1 month into your contract, so let's say you're about 10% into your contract, that is awesome. If you have 73% of your licenses allocated, but you are a year into your contract, that's not great. We want you to be at 100%, 120%, so we can upsell you. So it's a simple calculation where you take percent allocation and you divide it by the percent through time. It comes up with a number for you. Let's call it zero point 0.8. And if you can set at your organization what good looks like, you draw a line in the sand. Anyone above this utilization rate is pacing ahead. They're looking good for expansion, upsell, renewal. Anyone pacing below this or pacing low, they may churn or contract. By being able to just look at a single number, it changes day to day as the contract length goes on. This has been the most helpful thing for me in CS to understand my book. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like a practice I need to be putting into place at Doc. And I think what I love about it is you're really getting ahead of renewals and you're making sure that people are actually getting value and using the tool kind of way ahead of that renewal conversation. So it makes a ton of sense.
And I think another thing is if you are somebody who likes gamified success, which I personally do as a very competitive individual, when you're looking at your book and you're seeing, okay, who's pacing, who's under pacing, it's almost like a little race. It's very motivating, and you can really see why it's so important to front load your accounts with success in onboarding in the beginning. If you can get your customer pacing and their, benchmark score, their utilization scores up to a 4 at the beginning, I know I can let off the gas a little during the, activation period. That number is going to go down. But by really front loading an account, it saves me a lot of headache come renewal time trying to get that utilization up.
Yeah. And I also imagine it's just a great way to manage a customer success team and get insight into like how well everybody is doing in terms of like, the customer success team impacting the customer's adoption of the product. So yeah, I love it.
It's also helpful, Alex, if you're thinking of different teams do things differently. Some teams look at individual books of business dedicated to each CSM. Other teams look at things on a team goal or a group basis. The whole team wants to move their customers to this success metric. I've found it's very helpful for culture in CS specifically if you guys are kind of working towards, a group utilization rate. Each person, of course, still manages their own accounts and works them, but when we can look day over day at where we're moving as a team for our whole book, it's super helpful for that initiative too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to use it at Doc.